lot of say to talk about it. Yeah. So, yeah, during the last 3 years, 4 years, I get the fortune to visit a lot of different places, lot of different countries for fishing and escorting guests around the world, especially looking for new destination, virgin, where nobody else operate, to develop new fishing market. And you know, saltwater fishing, especially in the tropical water, it's a really huge field. There are many fish, many kind of fish, many kind of fishing. So the layout of a presentation like this is not easy if people are don't know not a lot about it. So I think I will talk about popping for GT and jigging, speed jigging. I mean, like a general presentation of the condition that we can find around the world and the fish that we can find in different ocean. Talking about tropical popping, the most important fish, the most funny fish, the most important game fish is the GT, and is the strongest fish in the sea. So when sorry, I start to. This is one place. This is Raja Ampat in Indonesia. It's a beautiful place. It deserves to be seen. And this is Socotra, and this is Sudan. Okay, this is the GT in. This is a Socotra GT, and I'm starting to be a little bit nervous. So this was a fish about 65 kilo that we get during the first trip in Socotra, and it was really impressive because we arrived there and the place was completely pristine. So we find an amazing condition for fishing, and the medium size there is up to 40 kilo. So we're talking about fish of this size, and it's not always easy. It's not always easy for all the fishermen to approach with this kind of fish. But there are a lot of destination for good GT fishing. So you can go to Maldives, you can go to Sudan, you can go to Indonesia, you can go to Madagascar. There are many places. The main ocean for to get this fish is the Indian Ocean. It's the Indian Ocean between Egypt till Mozambique. This to make GT fishing, the equipment, it's really specific. It's really specific. You need a line between 80 pound and 130 pound, depending where you go. Line and leader between 150 and 300 pound, and you have to fish really tough, a lot of drag. So when you begin to start this fish, you don't know how to expect, because sometimes it's really difficult for fishermen to manage themselves in the boat. I mean fighting, because a lot of time we find difficult condition like rough sea and big waves. So it's not always easy to manage themselves inside the boat. And this is the first point that make this fishing really fun, really funny, especially when you start to get in, because you have to make like one trip just to understand how is this fishing, and then you start to understand the fish and how is fight, because the first time that you compare yourself with GT, sometimes is like traumatic, because it can be like somebody feel like it's not a pleasure to fight because it's too hard. But then when you start to understand, okay, you start to get a lot of fun. This is the most common fish on the coral barrier, but when you make popping, there are a lot of game fish, a lot of other game fish that you can find just making popping. This is fighting with a GT. As you see, the fisherman had to stay with all the weight in the back to pull the fish, and sometimes it's really hard. This is not the best way because if you break the line, you fall in the water. And also the woman can do it. So, I mean, when you start to manage, it's a sport for everybody, even people up to 60 years old. It's not like only extreme fishing. You know, sometimes this happens on the reef, like two fish on the same lure. It's happened a lot of time. This especially, it's a kind of grouper, and this is a red snapper. This picture is taken in Sudan. Sometimes it's happened that you get one GT and one snapper, or two big GT together, and your lure is going off. This is another fish. This is Barracuda. Everybody know Barracuda. It's a really nice game fish. It's a really nice game fish. You can find it in all the sea of the world, all around the world. This is a great Barracuda. There are many different kinds of Barracuda. The equipment is the same of GT. When you're fishing for GT or for cubera or for rooster fish, you can get some Barracuda, some big one. This was taken in Sudan. It was about 20 kilo, and it's spectacular fighters because it's jump out of the water and then start to make a really fast rush. And yeah, a lot of people don't like it, but I think it's one of the best game fish for the fisherman. And this is a really nice grouper. There are many different kinds of grouper that you can find all around the world in all the tropical water. And this was taken in Socotra, and it was about 35 kilo. The grouper can grow up till more than 100 kilos. Sometimes some lucky fishermen, they find them, they catch some big one on popper. This was taken on popper, but most commonly it's a jigging species. But sometimes they come up to the surface to attack, and it's really spectacular. It's not a real big fighter. The grouper is not a real big fighter, but is a spectacular fish, and it's really deserved. It's not easy. You have to be a little bit lucky. This is another kind of grouper, smaller, taken in Sudan. And this is another fish that you find in the reef. This is a coral trout. It's one of the most beautiful fish in the sea. And this was taken in a new spot in Yemen. This fish, there are also different kinds of coral trout, and you can find it in the Indian Ocean. This is a typical fish of the Indian Ocean and Indo-Pacific. And this is, most of the time, it's a popping species because it lives in shallow water. And it's the best way because it's really tough fish, and it's really beautiful. So when a lot of time he attacks in a spectacular way, he's jumping out of the water, and it's pretty nice fish. Then this is the Napoleon. This is a really difficult fish to get on popper. It's not so aggressive. It's not so aggressive, but sometimes when he's spawning, he attacks on popper. And on popper, it's one of the most spectacular fish that you can find. It's really an endangered species. This is an endangered species because the commercial fishing is really making the stock falling down. But there are still some places in the world where this population of fish is still alive, like in the southern Red Sea between Sudan and Eritrea and Saudi Arabia, and especially in Lakshadweep, close to India, south of India. All these places are completely virgin because there is no any kind of commercial fishing. And so if a fisherman want to join a really wild destination where nobody has fished before, these are places where you should go. And it's also a real strong fighter, because with this, when you hook it, even fish of 30, 40 kilo, it tries to go in the coral. So you have to pull it. You have to pull it a lot, and it's not easy if you are a beginner, because sometimes I've seen some people close to falling in the water because you have to pull with all your strong. This is another fish really difficult to get on popper, only that you find only in special condition like shallow water and lot of current. It's a green job fish. This is a beautiful fish and it's a real strong fighter also. But yeah, find good one on popping, it's really difficult. It's a typical fish of the Indian Ocean, from the Indian to the Indo-Pacific. And you find him when most of the time when you fish for GT. This is the red snapper. This is the Indian red snapper. There are different kind of snapper. This is the two-spot snapper. You find it in all the Indian Ocean and in the Indo-Pacific. There is another kind, the Kubera snapper, that stay in the Pacific Ocean, but it's completely different. This is one of the most common fish that you find when you are fishing for GT. There is a really high population, especially in the Red Sea and in Yemen and in Lakshadweep. In Maldives, this fish is going down because of the professional fishing. And it seems not so big, like 8 kilo, but it's a really, really good fighter. And the first thing that he tried to do every time is going inside the coral. So you have to get a real good fighting technique. And it's not easy to manage the first time. I've saw many people lost a lure of 30, 40 euro with the fish of 3, 4 kilo because he go inside the coral. And so even if it's not so big, it provides a lot of fun because it's a challenge. It's a real challenge, especially in some place where the coral is really alive. The fishing can be really technical for this. This is again a Barracuda from Maldives. This is the medium size that you usually find when you fish with big popper. So we're talking about fish between 10 and 15 kilo. So they provide always a nice fishing. Okay, now we're talking about a different style of popping, because when we're talking about popping, a lot of people thinking always about big popper and big stick. But popping is, it's like a group of different kind of fishing. This is a dorado. You find it in all the sea of the world. As you see, this is the lure. It's a kind of minnow. It's a special design for blue water fishing. For blue water fishing, we mean like offshore fishing on fast boat, on good sport fishing boat. With this boat, you go out and you go to find, or you go for fishing on FAD. FAD are like structure in open sea in 2,000 meters, 200 meters of water, 300 meters of water. They are like artificial structure connected by a rope to the bottom. And around there you find always a lot of bait fish because there is a high concentration of plankton. So a lot of bait fish stay there. And all around the FAD, that means fishing agreement device, you find always this fish, always. This is the most common, but you find also wahoo and marlin for trolling. A really spectacular fishing for dorado is go around FAD and make blind casting. I mean, casting, you don't see feeding, you don't see nothing, but you start to cast. And then you start to see many of them because they always stay in big group. One of the most best place in the world is Rodrigues Island in Mauritius for this fish. And also all the Pacific coast from California to Mexico and Panama. There is a good population, and especially in the Pacific, you find a really big one on popping, on spinning. Yeah, it's heavy spinning. You can get fish of up to 20, 30 kilo. The best tackle for this kind of fishing, for blue water fishing, are rod not so heavy, about 100, 120 grams to cast like minnow or fast lure, with line between 50 and 65 pounds, because you don't have any coral, You don't have any obstacle in the water, so the fish can run free. And here you have really, you enjoy a lot fishing because it's a little bit different from popping the reef, where you have to pull out the fish from the danger of the coral. And so a fish like this, if you make like fishing, you can get it in 10 minutes, and yeah, it's a really nice one. This was taken on jigging all around FAD. Okay, and this is another fish that is not so common, but in special condition you can get it on spinning and also fly equipment. This is the wahoo. Is worldwide. Is a worldwide fish. You find it in the Atlantic, in the Pacific, and in the Indian Ocean. The easier way to get it is always around FAD, but you can also tease. You can also make a specific fishing for it. You can troll big bait, and then when you get it close to the boat, you start to cast. It's not nobody make a trip only for wahoo. It's a bycatch, but when you are in the right place, it's pretty nice to try to fish him. Like spend half day or one full day for this. This is a offshore fish, so you need big boat. You need big and fast boat. The best destination is always Indian Ocean, Mauritius, and Madagascar, and also in the Pacific Ocean there are a huge one. This is another wahoo from Fiji. Fiji, it's a real paradise for fishing, but the problem is that for us from Europe it's really far away, so we have to find a place closer. This is a yellowfin tuna from Oman. Yellowfin tuna, it's another fish typical of blue water fishing. The population in the world is going down. It's really difficult to find a good destination for yellowfin tuna. This was a nice one. I can say a big one because it was about 70 kilo. The problem of this fish is the intensive professional fishing that there is all over the world. So a lot of people dream about yellowfin tuna. Now the problem is find a destination that can provide a good fishing every day. Because the problem, maybe you go for 1 week fishing for yellowfin tuna, and maybe you find them for half day, 1 day, maybe never. Because it's a fish that is a pelagic, so he move always in the same time, in the same way in the sea. In Oman there were a huge population, really incredible population of yellowfin tuna because they were arriving from Seychelles, but now the Japanese start to fish intensively, and so this picture was taken in 2008. We arrived in the year between the beginning of professional fishing, so we were able to find good yellowfin tuna, but now it's not anymore good. And even if you go to the Atlantic Sea, fishing for yellowfin, it starts to become really difficult. It's always a blue water fish, so you fish for him always with fast retrieve minnow and casting jig. If you are lucky, you can find them feeding, and you can try to cast inside also with fly, but it's a little bit difficult. So I think today, go for fishing for yellowfin tuna start to become a risk because you have a lot of chance to don't find what you're looking for. It's not tradable. This is a sailfish. It's another blue water fish. It's one of the most nice fish in the sea because it's beautiful. There is still a good population in the Indian Ocean. In the Atlantic, it's going down because of the long liner and intensive fishing. This was taken in Mauritius, around a FAD, around a structure, casting a fast minnow. It's a little bit frustrating fish because the first time that you see this fish is following your popper. Sometimes happen also on the reef. You're fishing for GT and some sailfish arrive and they try to eat your popper. The problem is these fish have a really soft mouth. So if you don't have a right equipment, you break all them out and you lose them all the time. So sometimes it can become really frustrating. When you are fishing when you are making normal popping for multi-purpose fish, it's a good idea to get with you like a lighter rod, about 60, 70, 80 grams with a 50-pound line, and you should use a small hook with some, I mean, like with some wall around, like this. You have a really small tooth. So when you attack, the wall enter inside the teeth, and you can get it easy. Otherwise, you will lose all of them, and it can be really frustrating. And this is a not common fish on lure. This was a marlin taken in Maldives. It was about 80 kilo. Marlin, it's always a blue water fish, and it's a typical fish for the trolling. But sometimes you can get them on popping or jigging. It's really, really difficult because in like 4 years of trip and like 1,000 days in the sea, we get this. This was a guest. It was a young guy. First trip for him, he get a marlin with a 300 rod, with a 300 jigging rod, so really light. And another time, always around FAD, we get one big, about 200 kilo on popper, but you have a really soft mouth, so it's really, this is the last step for the tropical fisherman. And then this is another fish that you find all in the Indian Ocean. This is the king mackerel. You get this with big popper, stick bait, and pencil bait, fishing for GT, but it's a pelagic fish. So this is it's a fish. It's really beautiful, and it's a real big fighter. It jumps a lot. The most incredible things that you can see is when you retrieve a popper. These fish arrive and jump out of the water for maybe 6, 5, 7, 8 meters, and you can see your lure flipping out in the air, free. It's a pelagic. They move in a really big group. So sometimes you are fishing and these fish arrive. One day they arrive and they start to make like terrorism between the sardine where you are, and you can see them jumping everywhere. They can stay for 2, 3 days. You get like 2 or 3 crazy days, and then bye-bye. But some of them remain. But also this is not easy to land because it smash a lot with the mouth. So a lot of time you lose them. And this is another one from Yemen. This is another kind of trevally. There are a lot of trevally. This is a yellow spotted trevally. There are a huge group in the Indian Ocean for this fish. This is always a bycatch, but it's always nice. It grows up till 20 kilo, and sometimes you get it with big popper or small minnow or stick bait. It's really aggressive, and it's also a really good fish for fly fishing. A lot of time you can see them eat crab. There are a pelagic crab in the Indian Ocean. They're moving on the surface with the current, and if you find the right moment when this crab arrive, you can find thousands and thousands of this trevally feeding on surface for crab. And okay, this is a shark. Shark is the problem of shark during the last years is that the heavy commercial fishing for fin is putting a lot of this species in danger. Is close to extinction. A lot of kind of shark are no more present in lot of sea. In Maldives there are still a good population, so it's a fish that you can find in Maldives. This was taken on popper, and the fish was released. Just take the picture like this. This was about 50 or 60 kilo. It's not a real big fighter, but it's a really nice fish to get because the attack on the surface it's amazing. You can see fish of up to 2 meters come all out of the water like an explosion, and you see all the fish coming up. And yeah, it's not so fast. It's not so fast fish, but it's really tough. It's really heavy. And okay, now the last technique is jigging. The speed jigging is absolutely the most exciting, for me, one of the most exciting fishing that you can do in tropical water. This is the first target for the jiggerman. This is the dogtooth tuna. You find him only in the Indian Ocean and the Indo-Pacific. It can grow up till 100 kilo, but today it's starting to be really difficult to find the trophy dogtooth tuna because it's a real weak fish. When you get it, a lot of time they are so stressed for the fighting and they die. So the population is, especially in the sport fishing destination, is going down really fast. It's not easy to find a good destination for dogtooth tuna. This was taken in Sudan. In Sudan, fortunately, we have still huge population of dogtooth because there is no any kind of pressure, any kind of local pressure or commercial pressure. So it's still full of dogtooth tuna. And the amazing things of fishing for doggy is the speed that you have to give to the lure. You have to go really fast, more than you can imagine. And almost all the time, the attack, you feel it really, really strong. I saw some people almost falling in the water when retrieving, boom, and you are like this with the fish running so fast. It's fighting. It's a real. This is my favorite fish because it make the first rush really, really strong, really long, really fast. It burn your reel, but then okay, it come, and it's different because GT is running, then is stopping, then is come and running again. This give all in the first minutes, but sometimes you feel really terror. And the problem, this was a nice one, about 30 kilo, but the problem is that where you have a lot of coral, this fish, even if we call it tuna, it's a kind of mackerel, but he live in the coral. So if you hook fish about 50 kilo, 40 kilo, the first thing that he try to do is go in the coral or run very fast close to the wall. So you have to be prepared. You cannot fish with 2 or 3 kilo of drag. You need a good equipment. This is the basis for this kind of fishing. And then you have to manage your drag because more is running. And this is a situation that happens a lot of time with dogtooth tuna, that you get 2, 3, or 4 fish together because they are moving, especially till the medium size, till 40 kilo, they moving in group. More they are smaller, like a lot of fish, and more they are. Sometimes it's happened that in 2 hours of fishing, it's possible to land like 60 or 70 dogtooth because they are all together and they're looking for current. So the first matter when you're chasing for doggy is current. They stay in the same spot of shark, and when you find the big group, it can be really amazing because you don't have the time to drop the jig and you start. Sometimes they take the jig falling down, so you have to be always well connected with your line because you feel the line accelerated, and if you are not prepared, you can lose them all. And this is another coral trout from Sudan. This is a different species present only in the Red Sea. It's the Red Sea coral trout. It grew up till 15 kilo. And for me, this is one of the most beautiful fish that you can find in all the sea. This was taken on jigging. It's a different species. And then this is another shark taken on jig in Mauritius. This was about 80 kilo. It's shark attack a lot of time the jig in all the sea of the world. It's a common fish for jigging. The problem is that with the skin and the tooth, you lose them a lot of time. But if you can stay connected, it's really amazing fighting. A lot of people don't like shark because they say that fish are fish and shark are shark, like if they are not fish. But you have to try it because it's never tired and it's a really amazing sport fishing. Unfortunately, not easy to land. This is another species of coral trout taken in Mauritius. Ecco, this is a beautiful, it's a kind of coral trout. It's present in really few number in the Indian Ocean, especially in Maldives. Not easy to find. And now talking a little bit about shore fishing. Shore fishing in the tropical water, it's really amazing, but it's not always easy to find a destination to make this, because a lot of time you need to go out with big boat and go far away. But there are some places where you can find this condition, and for a fisherman it's really amazing, because you feel you are alone, and you go walking and looking for your fish, and every fish, when you fish from shore, it's really you really deserve it. It's really amazing. Especially in Sudan, we find really amazing condition to make this fishing, because there are a lot of island and a lot of coastline. So during the last exploratory trip, we spent a lot of time looking for a new place to develop shore fishing, because we are working also on about fly fishing. This fish was about 30 kilo. It was taken from shore, from the sand, in a channel, like a natural lagoon, and by night. It's not a common catch, because to make this kind of fishing, a lot of people go to Japan, but it's a little bit far, and yeah, you can fish on medium popping equipment, like 65-pound line or 80-pound line. There are some places where you can find a really big one, so it's better to use a tougher line. And this is the last picture. It's a coral trout taken from shore. As you see, this place, it's all coral bottom. So it's pretty nice, because in this kind of flat, you can walk for 100 and 100 meter in a half meter of water with like 25-gram rods and a 20-pound line, and you can get a lot of fun with 100 kind of different fishes. This was a coral trout, and the fighting of this fish was really difficult, because it tried always the time to enter inside the rock, and so from walking, sometimes you have to run. You have to run really fast to arrive close to the fish and take it out of the coral. And for me, this is one of the most adrenaline fishing that you can do, because you are a lot of time you can be alone. You can stay alone, and you can see all the landscape around you, and get many different kind of fishing. If you want, you can fish heavy. If you want, you can fish light, and so I think this fish deserves to be done for all the tropical fishermen, because yeah, now in South Europe there is a big culture of fishing trip. So the people start to thinking about more and more big game. All the people want biggest fish every year. It's like a play between who get the biggest. I think traveling for fishing, it's a way to discover the world, because you get away not only for fishing. Fishing is just a way to discover new stuff, and to see new beautiful place, to discover new culture. So the approach of fishermen to the fishing trip, to the fishing travel, have to be this: you go away and you try to discover something new. You will discover for sure new culture. You will discover for sure new sea, and even if you go to make popping for GT in one place or in another place, every trip will be different every time, because every sea, every area has its own characteristic. So you will never stop to learn. Even a lot of people think that since you are in a tropical water, it's easy to fish, because it's full of fish. Fish have never seen lure, but this fishing, it's really complicated. It's a really big field. It's a real big field. There are many kind of lure. It's like pike fishing. Nothing different than pike fishing. You have many different kind of lure. You will find many different conditions. So when you start, you have to think that you will need many years to learn. But when you start to understand the new different sea, when you arrive in a new sea and you start to understand how the fish feed there, and you start to understand how to fish, which lure use in different conditions, you will start to understand that you become a real complete angler, because I think that the challenges change every time for a fisherman. It's change every time kind of fishing style, and yeah, I think that there is a lot to talking about, because there are many kind of equipment, many kind of retrieve. Yeah, it's a huge field, but I suggest that if somebody have to make a trip, the first fish is GT, and then he can start to work on all the other fishes. And yeah, it's the easiest fish to find, again, because it's not a fish killed by commercial fishing. So you can find him in good population. Other fish, as I tell you, like yellowfin or also rooster fish, are going a little bit down, or Cubera snapper are going a little bit down, or also amberjack. But fortunately, GT is remaining the most common fish for the tropical fishermen. And I think that's all. If you have some questions, I will be happy to answer you about everything.